With the legendary assassin from Universe 6 Hit now leaving Earth after killing Son Goku, and by the request of Son Goku during their sparring match, we pan on over to Gohan to find out that he is actually going to be a part of a major movie and is hired as a stunt double for a man named Barry Khan, the mean-spirited star playing as the role of Great Saiyaman. But while Gohan struggles in the film, the parasitic alien debuting known as Wadagash is up to no good on Earth, as Wadagash is lured by the darkness in people's hearts on Earth, as he also tries to wreak havoc going into Dragon Ball Super Episode 74. What's going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome to my Dragon Ball Super Episode 73 breakdown review entitled Gohan's Disaster Great Saiyaman's Movie Adaptation, leading into Dragon Ball Super Episode 74 entitled For the Sake of Those He Loves, the Indomitable Great Saiyaman. Now, of course, Gohan's superhero identity as Great Saiyaman is being molded and featured and being placed into its own movie, and Gohan is actually hired to be the stunt double of this character. Now, of course, with that being said, as we carry on forward into Dragon Ball Super Episode 74, it looks like Wadagash is going to be squaring up against Gohan, alongside carrying on over to Dragon Ball Super Episode 75, 76, and 77. And again, keep in mind, this will contain a little bit of spoilers. Dragon Ball Super Episode 75 is ultimately being described as Goku being bored without a training partner, so Chi-Chi calls Gohan, who turns into Great Saiyaman, to spar with Goku until something happens between the two. Now, although we don't really know what happens between Goku and Gohan, it's best if Gohan does train with Goku, who we all know Goku is significantly higher than Gohan in terms of battle power and strength. It's ultimately fair enough for Gohan to be training with his father, especially entering the Tournament of Power with all of these universes involved. And I do think that the following episodes, episodes 74 and 75, are going to be showcasing Gohan and Great Saiyaman up until episode 76, with Krillin being picked up as the next person that Goku has to train with, in which we haven't seen in a very long time, with the Turtle Hermit ordering them to go and train in the Paradise Grass, as they get to see holograms and envisionments of Frieza, Majin Buu, and Cell, as Goku and his company have fought before, allowing them to get stronger. And of course, Dragon Ball Super Episode 77, when Goku goes to Bulma's house, he finds out that Bulma is in fact pregnant with Vegeta's second child. So the emphasis on Dragon Ball Super Episode 73, 74, and 75 are going to be featuring Gohan with Wadagash, Gohan with Barry Khan, and of course Gohan with his father, as we move on forward with the Goku training with Krillin, and of course Goku finding out about Bulma's pregnancy during Dragon Ball Super Episode 77. But even following Dragon Ball Super Episode 73, this wasn't really an episode that I would have to say was mesmerizing. If anything, I do think that it was a very, very slow episode. There wasn't really much to build, only on the fact that Gohan is doing something other than sitting around and reading books. He is a part of a movie. Even if he's involved in being a stunt double, he's still doing something, although this benefits nothing going into the Tournament of Power with the Omni King. I do think that as we progress on forward, as Whis begins to convert everybody and tell everyone that yes, they need to be involved in this tournament, I do think that only then will we get to see Gohan and everyone else receive at least some training before going into this, because as of right now, I think that this episode establishes that Gohan is nowhere near where he used to be. Obviously enough, if they want to have any sort of chance in competing in this tournament, every single individual has to gradually get stronger, and the only individual that has been gradually getting stronger so far has been Vegeta. Now, we saw Goku on King Kai's planet during this episode, but again, it wasn't as significant as seeing Vegeta train with Whis during Dragon Ball Super Episode 72. That was one thing that I picked up on. However, I do also want to note that even though Gohan is a part of his own movie and he's doing his own stunts and whatnot, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's falling necessarily short, because again, he could be doing some training on the side. He will be doing training with his father going into Dragon Ball Super Episode 75 by the end of the month. However, as of right now, a part of this movie role, we see that next week, him and Wadagash are going to have a big thing, and the focus is going to be more or less on Gohan than anyone else. And a quick little side note to mention before we go any further is, if you guys are not following me at Twitter, make sure to follow me at Twitter for more Dragon Ball updates. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to punch that subscribe button and alert notifications. That way you guys are always notified with whatever Dragon Ball discussion or review drops on this channel. And of course, if you guys want to see Gohan become great again, make sure to punch that like button square in the face, because right now there is emphasis on Gohan, not as much as we would all like there to be, but there's still focus on Gohan, unlike before in the previous arcs where we only saw Gohan for about 1 or 2 episodes. Now we have a back-to-back-to-back featurette with Gohan starring in all 3 episodes. Now, I do want to focus more on what Gohan did in this episode. Gohan didn't really do much, as it was expected to have the gimmicks of Mr. Satan and the Great Saiyaman finally have some sort of an interaction, because again, we already know that Hercule was the quote-unquote savior of the world by defeating quote-unquote Cell and Majin Buu, so obviously taking the credit for Goku and Gohan's work, but nobody else knows that aside from Gohan. So having a movie having to have the great Saiyaman, the protector of the masses, going up against the World Martial Arts Tournament master, that being Mr. Satan, a lot of fans around the world want to see that matchup, and now for the first time we're getting it. However, I do want to say a very, very slow build up to this episode. Again, if there's ever an episode I would have to say was my favorite among the fillers, it was definitely the baseball game between Beerus and Champa. That right there utilized every single character, I believe, to their fullest during that time. We had Vegeta, Yamcha, Tien Shinhan, we had Vegeta, we had Boltamo, we had, you know, various different characters. We had various beefs between Goku and Vegeta, as we had the pitcher and the batter. And now in this episode, obviously enough, it's going to be growing upon some people. Many people aren't too fond of filler. They're going to be waiting until the next arc starts, until we finally get something fresh. Although this is something relatively different for now, it's still going to be leading up to something bigger as we move on forward. So Gohan, is he training? No. Is he a part of a movie? Yes. He's a stunt double? Yes, correct, because he feels as if he does the stunts by himself, he can avoid someone else getting injured, he can avoid someone else getting hurt. So obviously enough, he's a Saiyan. I mean, he's pretty much invulnerable to much that humans aren't, so it makes sense for Gohan to be the stunt double, but in this episode, that wasn't the case. Now we get to see this parasitic criminal known as Wadagash. He reminds me of a Digimon. If you guys pay close attention, he reminds me of Dioboromon from Digimon the movie, and he seems to escape Jocko's little capture jar, and he floats out into space and he makes his way towards Earth. Now, very similar to the character Baby from Dragon Ball GT, we see how Wadagash seems to have the same effect onto its host. He seems to actually influence the host, and he seems to actually carry on and improve the host's power into, you know, allowing them to be competing against someone who's much stronger, i.e. in this episode, we get to see how Gohan encountered two of the original criminals from the Dragon Ball Z manga, in which case they recognized him, but Gohan wasn't able to recognize them at first until realizing that yes, Gohan was the one who had defeated both of them at one point, until we get to see Wadagash infect one of them. And after Wadagash seemed to have infected one of them, one of the bank robbers actually managed to increase his power so much so he was able to compete against Gohan. Now in next week's episode, we get to see how Wadagash is going to infect Barry Karn. Now Barry Karn was one of the baddies in this episode, more or less along the lines of being an asshole to everyone around him. He was being an asshole to Gohan. He tried to hit on Videl. He tried to actually take control of the movie set and telling the director what he wanted to do and how he wanted to do it. So we get to see how Barry Karn would make for the perfect host for Wadagash, given his attitude, given his demeanor, given his ego. And we get to see how Barry Karn didn't want Gohan to be a part of the movie at first, because he thought he was going to steal his thunder. He was going to steal the role of being the main actor, how he wanted to take all the girls for himself. And that's actually relatable to real life stuff, because in real life, people tend to have egos. People tend to have so much pride that it overlooks them, it overshadows their judgment. And we get to see that with Barry Karn in this particular episode, as he was trying to, you know, boss Gohan around. He was trying to tell Gohan what to do. And even when Gohan actually went on as far as doing the traditional Saiyaman poses, Barry Karn did not like that, because he wanted stuff done his way, in which case Barry Karn wanted certain poses done the way he wanted to. And we see how Barry Karn is the main focus of this episode, and we see how cocky he was, and we see how Wadagash comes to Earth, and we see how Jocko actually fires his galactic cannon at Gohan, assuming enough Gohan is the baddie here. But of course, towards next week's episode, we get to see how Wadagash is going to infect Barry Karn. We see how Wadagash is going to infect several other people that is going to force Gohan to fight. Now, yes, Gohan will be fighting, but it isn't going to be on a grand level to where he's actually going to be transforming into a Super Saiyan Rage, Super Saiyan Blue, Super Saiyan, if that, because we get to see Great Saiyaman as the main focus. And now, I'm assuming enough that, you know, Wadagash is going to allow himself to have a brand new form, because we see this giant, and what looks like, to me at least, like a giant Super Android 13 copycat with red eyes, looks all beefed up with different skin color. It looks very intriguing. Now, one can only assume that that's either A, you know, the Barry Karn host that he had overtaken, or that could be someone else that he had actually infected. But of course, we get to see Jocko and Gohan team up to take down this evil criminal. And again, I do want to touch up on the idea that Dragon Ball Super has been throwing in at least some, you know, emphasis on Dragon Ball GT, because again, if you look at Wadagash, he reminds you a lot like Baby, because that's what he tends to do. He tends to infect the body, control the body, and once he makes use of you, he'll leave your body, as seen with one of the bank robbers, because after Gohan defeated one of the bank robbers, we get to see how Wadagash left, and Wadagash is going to carry on into next week's episode. And again, I do think that Gohan, yet again, even though he is one of the primary focuses of this episode, he isn't on the standard or level to where he needs to be, especially going into the Tournament of Power with the Omni King. But if you want to pin the primary focus, the focus was on Barry Karn wanting to be greedy, not wanting to give Gohan any shine at all, and Gohan having to do what he wanted to do for the sake of Videl and for the sake of, you know, making her proud, of course, and that was the primary focus of this episode. Nothing major other than Wadagash coming to Earth, Jocko following him, and then many things ready to be happening later on in next week's episode, as we see with, you know, Wadagash infecting various people and, you know, transforming them and allowing them to fight Gohan. But post your comments down below, guys. What are your overall thoughts on this episode with Gohan? Do you guys believe that we'll ever get to see an episode with Gohan actually training and getting stronger? Because, I mean, with this upcoming Universal Tournament, Gohan doesn't have a choice but to defend his family. So after having a look at this, I'm not going to say that this was the best filler episode. I would have to say the best filler episode so far was the baseball episode. However, it was kind of cool to see Gohan actually involved in something. But post your comments down below, guys. What are your overall thoughts on Gohan's role? What are your overall thoughts on Gohan's expectations in the Universal Tournament? And what are your overall thoughts on next week's episode starring Gohan yet again? Comment down below, guys. Once again, thank you all for watching. If you guys love Dragon Ball, if you guys cannot wait for more Dragon Ball content, guys, make sure to stay subscribed to this channel. Turn on notifications. That way you guys are always aware with any video I post out, guys. And of course, if you guys enjoyed the review, make sure to punch that like button square in the face. I'll be covering Dragon Ball Super's English dub later on tonight alongside Dragon Ball Kai. So make sure you guys go ahead and tune back onto the channel. That way you guys can go ahead and catch up on these reviews and breakdowns. And again, guys, lots of Dragon Ball talk to have tonight. So thank you all for watching once again. And I'll be seeing you all in tonight's Dragon Ball Super Episode 1 English dub review. Take it easy, guys. Peace.